Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to cover how iOS 14 is affecting YouTube ads and what we're doing to deal with it, right? As you may be aware, iOS 14 has rolled out and it's basically caused a lot of issues with tracking. People are missing a lot of data, GQuiz aren't working, pixels are less accurate, and it's just causing a lot of issues. So I have here Raphael, and Raphael, he works with us as basically one of our coaches in a media training program. He's also run a lot of ads for our clients, and he's one of the definitely the top media buyers in the industry. So Raph, I'd love to first get started with what is iOS 14 and why should we be concerned about it?
Well, iOS 14 is the update where Apple pretty much doesn't want you, wants to ask permission, wants to let users know that they're being tracked. YouTube, as we know, most of the traffic that you promote nowadays, almost everything is mobile, and YouTube is an app. As such, people they're going to use YouTube, they're going to get a warning, and a lot of people are opting out. We did not know how many people were going to opt out, but it seems the opt-out rates are extremely high. Because of such, the cookies that Google's using to track people, Google Click ID, they are not being tracked for iOS traffic. So a lot of people are seeing their cost per conversions going up, and campaigns stop spending, all types of things. So pretty much the information you're seeing in the Google dashboard, if it wasn't accurate before, it's a lot less accurate now.
And I think that's one of the concerning things is anything when you're running traffic to iOS 14 devices, the data is much less accurate. And one interesting thing for those of you who use GQuiz is that we're having major issues with GQuiz when it's coming from iOS 14. They're not really passing through. We're getting something else called W braids. So GQuiz are like a parameter, right? And a lot of people use GQuiz to track their Google ads. So if somebody clicks on an ad, there's a parameter attached to the end of it, and it stays in the CRM, and you use that to track whatever actions they do with your business. However, right now what's happening is instead of GQuiz, another parameter called a W braid is being passed on from iOS 14 devices. And W braid is kind of a new thing that Google's created where it's basically compliant with Apple's information, but we are not able to upload those W braids into Google Ads. We're not able to get that information. So they have like pretty black hole in that regard in terms of GQuiz and their functionality.
Correct. So you see here, this is a tracker sending a parameter, and this is the GClip. So as you can see here, Chrome OS, GClip, iOS, nothing. iOS, nothing. And that's the main issue that we're speaking about right now. So that new parameter, WBRAID, we're assuming that's going to be the parameter that's going to be used going forward. Google, for whatever reason, has not gotten around to actually applying this methodology where they're going to send the conversions back into the Google Ads platform. We don't know what the date is. They say it's going to be rolled out, but we have no idea. Having said that, like if you have a third-party tracker, you have ways of seeing the traffic that's coming in from iOS, what's converting, what isn't converting. You know, in this industry, Hyros is the infamous third-party tracker that people use. If you're doing affiliate stuff, anything that you use like Thrive Tracker, CPV Lab, Volume, you'll be able to see that information. If you are depending on looking at your Google Ads dashboard to decide, hey, this is working, this is not working, you are basically buying in the dark.
Exactly. And that's kind of why we've pushed all of our clients to use Hyros, because the reason that Hyros is working is basically it's server-side tracking, right? Do you want to explain the difference between kind of server-side versus what the Google Pixel or the Facebook Pixel is doing?
Well, the Pixel is it's not even sending information. So with Hyros in place, they're sending their own parameters and they're able to track back to the campaign, as opposed to with the Pixel right now, it's literally not even tracking that information. Sometimes you even look at Google Analytics and anything that's iOS data, you're not really seeing it and that's where everything is moving towards anyways. So this is an issue that Google is going to resolve. We just don't know when. And being YouTube just one of the things, like for example, search, it doesn't really affect it. Display doesn't affect it. It's just affecting mostly YouTube because it's an app.
Exactly. So anything that's an app, like basically Google or Facebook with their apps, they can't use the app to track the user. However, on your website, you can still track whatever they're doing. So that's why kind of like server-side tracking is kind of basically something that you have set up on your website. It's not something that's being done through this app that's kind of like a third-party Pixel. So that's kind of the reason why Hyros is working, and while these other things are kind of not working that well. I guess in terms of where we're looking at going with this long term, what do you think the future of tracking is going to be long term?
I mean, right now, this is all new territory right now. Everything's going cookieless. They're not going to be tracking cookies at some point. Google's already made that announcement. I believe it's called flock tracking. So we know that's not going to be the case. So you do want to have some type of platform, third-party platform that can track parameters and send that information either back to the platform itself or back to Google, because we don't know how this conversion data is going to come out. Right now, we just know that eventually it's going to be a little bit less accurate. And so you have to treat conversion data in a way where it's just helping the algorithm to a certain extent. You have to feed the machine what it needs, but not say, hey, this definitely is profitable or not profitable just by looking at the platform, right? So let's just say if you were aiming to get cost per leads at $10 and you're seeing on the platform that your cost per conversion, assuming your conversion is a lead, is $30, that's not important. What's important is in reality what's going on. And that's why you need those third-party tracking platforms to really have as accurate data as possible. Tracking, attribution, all those things have never been a perfect science, but now it's just a little bit more messy than what it was before.
Yeah, exactly. You can't really look at the ad platform data anymore. You have to look at a third-party tracking tool like Hyros to make your optimization decisions. And then when it comes to algorithm, because GQuiz aren't being passed, you're not getting the right data into the ad platform. So you're gonna have to just bid higher, right? Because ultimately you're missing conversions, right? So if the ad platform showing $10 a conversion, it might in reality be $15 a conversion because you're missing those conversions. So you're just gonna have to bid at maybe like $15 instead of $10 like before. So that's like an important thing to understand for the algorithm and like the optimization side of things.
Correct. The only conversions you're seeing are from desktop computers or Android or any non-iOS, which is mostly Android. If you have a target CPA campaign and it stops spending, it's going to stop spending because your cost per conversion, let's say you have a bid of 5 and your cost per conversion used to be $4, great. But now your cost per conversion is going to 8. So a bid of 5 is not going to do it. You're going to have to bid higher. And how much higher? Nobody knows. Maybe it'd be 10, maybe it'd be 15. But the key point is to keep the machine spending. Maybe start doing a different test with max conversions versus target CPA. Right now, because of this less data, it's gotten a little bit more complicated. So just realize that if you have a campaign that's working or campaigns that are working target CPA and they stop spending, that's the reason why. Those conversions are not going to come in, and we don't know when they're going to start coming in at some point. But right now, it's not the case.
And I'm curious, do you think the algorithmic bidding, right, like on Google's side, do you think Google's just gonna start sending buying traffic from just desktop and Android and then start kind of not giving you kind of traffic from iOS devices? Do you think that's what's happening right now?
I haven't seen that. I still get traffic from iOS. As I was just showing you, I know like I want to say 60% of my mobile traffic is iOS still, so it's still coming in. So I don't think that will be the case. I don't know though.
Yeah, I'm guessing that Google realizes that and they're probably potentially modified their algorithm because usually, it's like, okay, if this sort of traffic is converting, they'll just keep pushing that. But it seems like obviously with iOS, you're just kind of missing data. So it's important to keep track of that. And I guess one thing that I want to make sure that our viewers are kind of aware of is cookies versus parameters. Can you dive a bit deeper into that, just because that's something when I was first starting out with this whole tracking stuff, that kind of confused me. Like, what's the difference between a cookie and a parameter, and why are cookies like disappearing while parameters are still working?
Well, the cookie is like a JavaScript, and it's placed on your browser, and it takes certain information about your location. I want to say your device, things of that nature, and it follows you around. So if I go to newsmax.com, I visit that site, the cookies knows, okay, I visited this site from this device, this IP, and it's going to follow me around. As opposed to the parameters. The parameters are exactly what we were showing in the screen share earlier. You're passing on an ID. So the parameters are whenever you click on something, you always see a question mark, car equals A equals, so on and so forth. Those are the parameters, and those stay. So if you have some type of system where you can track parameters, and then eventually those parameters, there's an action taken in the end, like a sale, and then you could tell that to something else. That's why the third-party tracking is necessary. Then you can associate where that sale came from which ad, so on and so forth. So that's the main difference. Like I said, the cookies, the JavaScript is going to follow you around, so on and so forth. But the parameter itself is usually that thing you see whenever you do a Google search. Next time you click on an ad or just mouse over the ad, you're going to see question mark something equals this. You can still pass certain parameters such as campaign ID, creative ID. Those things still go through because I know right now I'm running some stuff and I'm passing those parameters through. And that
Even on
allows
iOS
me to
14.
know, yeah, even in iOS, that allows me to know what's working and what isn't to a certain extent.
I guess the main parameter that's not being passed on iOS 14 is GQuiz, and that's they're passing W rates, and you can't do anything with that as of yet. So until they fix that,
I passed the WB rates and I tried setting something up in Zapier to upload it, import it, and no. And the WB rate looks just like a GQuiz. So I don't know how they intend to use it, but that's what it is. But for example, in Google Analytics, I don't see the iOS information as detailed as I want it either. So that's something to take into account. But the parameters, if you pass the parameters, that should be able to work in the meanwhile. And when parameters, I mean, it's called value track parameters. You want to Google that and you'll know what parameters can be passed. The most important ones, I think, for YouTube would be squiggly line creative, close the squiggly line, because creative tracks the ad ID. But you won't know, for example, if it was male, female, nothing of that sort. You just know like the ad, you can know the campaign. And those are the most important parameters, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the third-party tracking tools as well, right? Like you know the ad, the campaign, ad group, but you don't really get the.
You won't know like a third-party platform maybe even tell you geolocation or something converted. And I'm not sure. There may be a parameter for locations as well. There's a parameter for device as well. So go to value track parameters, and you can add as many parameters as you like, and then you can start testing that to see if that's working. But once again, I think Hyros, because tracking is so, even me as much as you know about tracking can be very, very technical. And I know a lot of our viewers are more on the media buying side. So it just makes sense to just work with the tool that we know works, which is Hyros. And if you're doing affiliate stuff, affiliates already do this stuff. They use Thrive Tracker or Volume, BMOP, CPV Lab, so on and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah. So the long and short of it is right now use Hyros. If it's too expensive for you, you can definitely pass along these basically campaign and ad parameters, but you're not going to be able to pass along GClips from iOS 14, at least not for now until Google fixes it. So yeah, I appreciate you clarifying that. That's pretty much in line with what we've been telling everybody. Just get set up on a tool like Hyros or even Wicked Reports or any kind of third-party tracking tool that will allow you to make optimization decisions well. Your algorithm will still struggle because, until Google fixes this whole W rate thing, you're not going to be able to feed the algorithm like the really accurate data that you were getting before.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if your campaign is working fine, keep doing what you're doing, There's no reason to obsess over, hey, it's not really optimizing properly because I'm not getting conversion data from iOS, because there's nothing we can do. All you can do is manage your things, bid appropriately so it can spend properly. And if in the back end you're seeing that you're profitable, then you continue to push. And if not, you just reinvent something or use new creatives or something else.
And that's very important. You got to understand your backend numbers. So that's essential, right? And that's why we always do unique funnels for YouTube, right? It's just, you always want to have like as much separation from other traffic sources, just so you can go into your CRM and be like, oh, yeah, this is how many leads we generated, right? Like, or you have a Google Sheets of your leads that are being generated from that funnel. While if you're not really keeping track of that and you're just trusting the platform, especially if you're doing client work, what you'll see is like, oh, wow, our conversions really took a hit recently, but in reality, the client's still making money. It's just that it's not being reported to the ad platform. So yeah, I think that kind of summarizes everything. Obviously, as things develop, we will keep diving deeper into this and keep bringing you guys information. But for now, get Hyros or Wicked Reports. And well, Wicked Reports, I'm not sure because I know they've had some issues recently with tracking in terms of accuracy. But yeah, third-party tracking tools are working great. So yeah, guys, make sure to subscribe and make sure to hit the like button on this video so we can keep getting you videos like this. I apologize for the quality. This one was a more impromptu. We wanted to get this out as soon as possible, so we didn't really have the time to like get a whole professional shoot like sometimes we do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to your comments, and I'll see you on the next video.